Here.
Here.
Thank you. The Waterworks Board consists of 3 members, Tom Schmidt, Kevin Conley, and myself, Robin Alvarez. The first item on the agenda for the Waterworks meeting is the minutes of the September 8th, 2001 public meeting.
So moved.
Second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Next on the agenda are claims. Mr. Volkman, are there any additional claims?
Hey, when I left that email in the other room for my comment, there was one, is there one on water?
There is.
No, it's not, I put it up on my phone. Yes. Waterworks Board, there's an additional claim, for the State Board of Accounts. This was from the audit, for the 1920 audit, in the amount of $5,673.
Motion to approve claims?
Second. Approved 2-0. Next on the agenda are reports. Are there any staff reports?
No reports.
Are there any council member reports?
No, ma'am.
I see no old business. There is no new business. Is there business from the floor? Any business from the floor? This meeting is adjourned.
Call to order the redevelopment commission meeting for Wednesday, October 13th, 2021. The time is 7:08 p.m. For this meeting, we'll bring in Councilman Johnson and Councilman Getzlaff into the roll call for the redevelopment meeting. Minutes of the September 8th, 2021 public meeting, pleasure of the board.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-0. Thank you. Claims, I don't believe there are any additional claims for
No additional claims.
Thank you.
Motion to pay the claims.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Passes 4-0. Any reports from staff or redevelopments?
No reports.
Okay, council members? Okay, we have no old business, we have no new business. Any business from the floor regarding redevelopment? Any business from the floor? Any business from the floor? Hearing none, this meeting is adjourned.
I'd like to call the Utility Board Commission meeting to order for Wednesday, October 13, 2021. I'll accept the roll call the same as the redevelopment. So we'll go to the minutes of the September 8, 2021 public meeting. Pleasure of the board.
So moved.
Second?
The motion is second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 4-0. Mr. Bolton, were there any additional claims to redevelopment?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, there's one additional claim. Again, it's from the State Board of Accounts. And this was the cost accounts billing for the 1920 audit that was recently completed in the amount of $4,414.
Pleasure of the board.
Motion to pay the claims.
Second.
The motion is second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 4-0. Any reports from staff members?
No reports.
Council members?
No, sir.
I guess I would say at the last public meeting, we withdrew the petition to withdraw from the IURC. I don't know if that's something we need to reaffirm here today.
You don't, but you would have been under the water utility
Oh, that's right.
on side.
That's okay.
All right, thank you.
You did act in the public meeting last week.
So that's it.
There is no old business or new business. Is there any business from the floor regarding utilities? Any business from the floor regarding utilities? Any business from the floor regarding utilities? Hearing none, meeting for utilities is officially closed. I'd like now to call the town council meeting to order for October 13, 2021. I'll set the same roll call as in the utility board. So we'll go to the minutes of the September 8, 2021 public meeting. Pleasure of the
So
board.
moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 4-0. Any additional claims, Mr. Boatman?
No additional claims.
Pleasure of the board.
Motion to pay the claims.
Second?
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. those?
For those joint meeting minutes of the water board and town council, town council should add, for sure. Just to make
Can
sure.
we put it on the agenda for waterworks next month? Okay.
But we do have a motion and a second now for the council. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 4-0. Thank you. Reports from staff members. Mr. Goldman, you want to call for the staff, so the staff has any reports?
Certainly. I for one have no staff report. Chief Patterson?
Just wanted to report for the month of September, the fire department responded to 324 calls, of which 267 were EMS related, 87 were fire related calls. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Chief Sormas?
Nothing tonight.
Ron? Snoksich?
Nothing to report.
Mr. Sims?
No reports.
No reports.
Thank you. Council members?
I have been talking with your permission, Mr. President, I have been talking to some folks locally in town that have interest in some mountain bike trails. I have been talking with some of our town staff, including Public Works and our parks superintendent, Mr. Novosich, and we have kind of worked out some ideas and some thoughts. I've approached a developer that, I don't know what his exact title is, but a mountain bike developer. He has proposed to me to come meet with the staff here, do a site assessment, hold a public meeting, and present a memorandum or a plan proposal for a site here in Schererville for mountain bike trails, and the cost of that would be $3,500. I'm looking to see if that is something that people would be interested in here in Schererville. This isn't a commitment to go forward with mountain bike trails, but it is a plan to at least evaluate whether the mountain bike trails are feasible. I thought that we had this 13-acre parcel out east of Rolling Hills that maybe would be a feasible location. So I would make a motion at this point, if it's appropriate, to authorize $3,500 to bring this developer out, do a site assessment, make sure this is something that we as a town want to do and can do, and give us some ideas how much it would cost going forward.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 4-0.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Goldman.
Mr. Johnson, did you receive any kind of proposal from the designer?
So, not yet, because I just spoke to him today for the first time. He sent me his statement of qualifications, his resume, etc. His email to me didn't say $3,500 for this, but what I'm going to do is, I guess at this point, now that we're in agreement that we're going to go forward with bringing him out, I will get that proposal or whatever it needs to be, or you guys could get that authorized.
Either way, I mean, if you've been in communication, if you want to solicit this proposal, and you know, then you've been talking to him, review it, make sure it's what you understand, then forward to us, and we'll just process it for an RTP so that it goes into the planning process correctly.
Sounds good. Okay.
I have one question, Mr. President. Mr. Novosich, thank you for the monthly report on the capital plan for the parks. One of the park amenities we had talked about in the joint study session was, potentially putting in a splash pad, for our residents, and it looked like a possible location for consideration is now either Beach Run or Weaver Park. We just kind of wanted to see where things are with discussion, if there's been any vetting on the cost a splash pad. I just want to see what's been done, with any detail, if any, conceptually or.
Thank you. The three locations that were discussed were Stevens Park, Sherwood, and Reeder Park. Legion Park, we know the soils from the study that Nice Engineering did for the parking wouldn't be suitable for a splash pad.
Okay.
Each site has some advantages and disadvantages as far as utilities. The cost we were looking at was anywhere from 100 to 150,000, and we have a study session Monday to further discuss what type of features are going to be there. So that really determines the size and scope of it, and really what kind of system we're going to have, if it's going to be a recirculating system or if it's going to be a drainway, which pretty much the water that drains off at an off-site location. Those are the two biggest cost considerations when you're looking at a splash pad. So the park board president had his daughter's third grade class actually look at different splash pad elements, and he's going to present that Monday, and got some input from some of those students to see what they may like to see in the splash pad. So once we see that, we'll have a better idea what we want to put in there. I probably did about 5 or 6 different site visits around the region, looking at the splash pads and kind of getting what works and what doesn't work. So we have to get a location, but first you're right, we have to get the actual scope of what we want to put in. Reader's a little bit tight. Sure, we have more space to work with. Stevens would be somewhat tight too.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, at this time, I will open the floor to public comments regarding the agenda items tonight. Any comments regarding agenda items? Any public comments regarding agenda items? Hearing none, we will now close the floor. At this time, we're going to have a presentation done by Craig Zanstra from the Lake County Parks Department. Craig? Come on up.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks for the opportunity to address you all tonight. My name is Craig Zanstra, Lake County Parks. I'm the Superintendent of Planning Natural Resources. We've been working on a project in the Lake Hills area for a number of years now. Basically, it's a land protection project, acquisition project for a potential future park site. And so just coming to the council now to just provide some information on what we're doing and some potential partnership or other opportunities moving forward. So just kind of want to run through my presentation here and just let you know kind of what's going on there and where we're at. And then after that, maybe a few questions if you need also. So go ahead. The first slide here is just our newest county parks vision plan of our county park sites. Currently, Lake County Parks, the park board manages about 7,000 acres in Lake County. As you can see, the dark green areas are county park sites that are currently operational and up and going. You can tell a lot of our county park sites are more on the east side of the county, southeast side. We've got a lot of stuff that's planned on the west side of the county, especially along West Creek from Cedar Lake south. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot on the west side of the county. Looking at our past open space plans back to 1968, we've had some park sites that were tried in the west side of the county, but we've never had a lot of success getting anything done. So as it stands right now currently, we've got a couple sites that aren't open yet, but we've acquired and are acquiring some more property around it, which is kind of on the west side of the county. We have a Cedar Lake Marsh site on the south end of Cedar Lake of almost 500 acres that will become a county park site eventually. Number 12 is our Beaver Dam site, future Beaver Dam County Park site between 101st and 109th in Center Township, which also the town of Schererville with the Lures Farm annexation butts up against that property south of 101st and north of 101st, which will be county park site in the coming years. We're just still acquiring some property and coming up with a plan to open it to the public. And then the site we're dealing with right now, we're talking about tonight, is number 12, which is what we're calling our Lake Hills site. Basically bounded by 77th on the north, 85th in the south, Austin on the west, and then Chapel Lawn Cemetery on the east. Looking at the map also, just a few little quick open space numbers. If you tally up all the open space in Lake County total, we've got about 20 to 25,000 acres. That would be between county parks, Nature Conservancy, DNR, your town parks, city parks, all that kind of stuff. So when you compare us in Lake County compared to counties surrounding us, we're behind most counties as far as open space numbers. Cook County, and they're pushing 100,000 acres. Cook County Forest Preserves manages 70,000 acres. Will County's got over 50,000 acres of open space. Porter County's got probably 25 to 30,000 acres because of the National Lake Shore, the state park, and some other properties. Even Newton County to the south of us, they got 30,000 acres because of Kankakee Sands, Willow Slough, LaSalle Fish and Wildlife Area. So Lake County has never quite got the numbers that some of the surrounding counties got. So I think anything we can do in the coming years to provide some open space, especially in the west side of the county, would be very beneficial. Go ahead, next one. This is, sorry about the quality here, but this is what's in our vision plan, kind of a update, and the red kind of shows the potential park boundary at its maximum size if it could work out. The big portion of this site would encompass the large wetland basin by 77th and Austin. Turkey Creek, the west lateral of Turkey Creek flows through that. And then also, the east lateral comes from Schererville Heights, kind of flows through the farm adjacent to Klein Avenue, and then comes in by the cemetery, and then they come together on 77th Avenue and then flow north. So you get a lot of water coming through there, especially the west side, with some of the development going around in St. John, especially the Lake Hills area. There's definitely more water coming down Turkey Creek, and there will be more in the future with all the development that's going on. The green area, which is hard to see, but it's kind of the middle of the site from 77th all the way to 85th. That's the subject property we're trying to acquire. It's 100 acres. The bulk of it, probably 80 to 90 acres, is in the town of Schererville. The remainder of it, is in St. John Township. So, and that's along 85th. So that's kind of the breakdown of the site. If you want to go ahead and thanks. Just some information generally on the site and some background. First, it's a 99-acre fee simple property acquisition. As far as plan support goes, if you look at the Town of Schererville Comprehensive Plan, the future land use map, it does show this site as park and recreation. Little Calumet River Basin Development Commission in their comprehensive watershed plan for Little Calumet River does show that wetland basin at 77th and Austin as a potential flood control storage site for floodwater. So they've identified that from their plan from a number of years ago. Also, Lake County Parks, our open space vision plan, has the site included, and it's been in there now for 2 straight plans. Since we had some other sites on the west side of the county that had been developed, we pushed this one in because we have a willing seller. So as far as the site goes, it's got some neat geology to it, some rolling topography, fitting of the Lake Hills area. Kind of between 77th and 85th, you've got about 40 feet of grade change. Because Turkey Creek flows along the 77th, and then 85th, you kind of go up and down about 3 or 4 times, which would make a really interesting trail system for that park site. Also, the biodiversity that's on the site, we've had our naturalists go out to the site and do a couple bird surveys, and I think we've come up with about, and this is some limited visits in the spring and fall, but 40 to 50 different bird species, your native bird species that come through the area and the migration, but also some that depend on some of the habitats there. So that's pretty nice. Also, a good amount of amphibians and reptiles on the site. I've personally myself seen turtles, frogs, snakes, other critters, lots of insects on the site as well. So preserving some of the biodiversity is important. And also the oak hickory savanna that's on the site. The middle of the property, pretty much the center of it, it's got probably about 20 to 25 acres of oak savanna on it, some really nice white oak, bur oak, red oak, shagbark hickory. And it also kind of goes from the cemetery all the way to the west side of the property up against Austin, those properties there. So, and then that savanna, you've got some nice spring ephemerals that you would find in a lot of our park sites, your spring beauties, mayapple, different native ephemerals, which are pretty neat. It does have some invasives as well. The site, I think, was farmed up until the 80s, so a lot of the site, probably other than maybe 20 or 30 acres, was farmed for a long time, and still there's 5 acres that are farmed up along 77th. And so, a lot of that just came back and just old field, not all native species, of course, but it's still got some nice areas in it that would lend itself towards some nice biodiversity in the future. And then also it's got a lot of wetlands on the site. It's got, of course, that large basin in this northwest corner, a lot of wetlands even scattered through the property back towards 85th. It was delineated, the wetlands were by EarthSource a number of years ago. I think there's a total about 25 acres on the site that are wetland, which has probably lent itself to why it hasn't been developed yet. There's been a couple developers that have looked at it, but the wetlands have been an issue. But I still think it could be developed someday if somebody really worked at it. It could have changed with some of the new wetland laws in the state of Indiana. I'm not sure if that's been taken into consideration yet, but it could be in the future. Town of Schererville, Lake County, and Lake County have had some partnerships here recently. Just wanted to mention that. Our Pensy Greenway Trail Phase 4 construction project, which will go from Warman Park to Clark Road and Crown Point. That's scheduled to start tree clearing this winter and then construction next year. And that's basically the local match for that project is being split 3 ways between the town of Schererville, the Lake County Commissioners, and also the Lake County Park Board. 3 ways the local match is being split, and we're really looking forward to that project because it's going to tie in a lot of the trail, down to Crown Point and eventually to another trail we're developing in Crown Point along 231 from Crown Point to Hebron. So it's going to help us in the long run too for some of our projects. Also, the Lackawanna Trail, there's no really agreement between the county parks and the town, but over the years with the Lackawanna Trail, especially our portion in Schererville between Turkey Creek and Burr Street, there's been times where your public works, your park department has helped us with a little bit of plowing, also some graffiti on occasion you've helped us with, and a few other things. So we've appreciated that because sometimes our staff's a little limited. This summer we had some issues like everybody does with keeping people on staff and then also having enough people to work. So, but we're kind of catching up on some of that now. But and then also the Ivan Gatlin Nature Preserve, and then also Prairie States Park. We've kind of worked on that over the years, and the Ivan Gatlin Nature Preserves really kind of started evolving into a nice little natural area. I know that talking to some of the neighbors there's a lot of biodiversity around that area as well, and the trail that goes through there is heavily used. So all that together is shown a history, at least, of some partnerships between us and the town, which we're very fortunate for. I'll go to the next one. Just a few quality of life benefits for this project, looking at it. Of course, with anything with county parks, there's water quality benefits with a site like this, flood control, recharge of the groundwater aquifer. I think there's probably still people on Austin in that area of the county, especially in the township, that are still on well yet. So a project like this, that you're preserving some of this natural plant communities and so forth, you're allowing the groundwater to recharge back into the ground. The wetlands recharge as well, so that's a good thing, in addition to what it'll do for the flood control. Also reducing some of the sediment loads in Turkey Creek, oxygen, reduced temperatures in the water columns with some of the restoration work that could happen, and also keeping some of the tree canopy around Turkey Creek where it's available. Also, I would consider this a green infrastructure stormwater project. Looking at it, it's got really positive long-term cost-benefit ratio. Your forest, wetlands, grassland on the site, like I mentioned, is going to allow that stormwater to percolate into the soil structure and not run into Turkey Creek so much. Anything we can hold upstream in Turkey Creek and the headwaters areas, less that's going to get downstream, which will help Colbert and other communities further down into Deep River and so forth. And with this project, you're not doing pumps, levees, pipes, structures, retention, detention. You're letting nature do all the flood control and all that work for you, which in the long term, there's always, long-term maintenance costs with county parks, no doubt. We have invasive species, things like that, but the property, you're letting it do its work for you with the flood control and some of that, which is a big benefit. Air quality benefits, we're protecting some of the oak and hickories on the site. Also, some of the forested wetland that's there. There's forested wetland on the cemetery side, and some also on the west side of the property and the south as well. Physical and mental health benefits provided by these parks. Of course, exercise is a big one on these park trails, especially in the surrounding connections this could have to the adjacent open space. We've seen it over and over again where people like to be in nature, and this is the kind of park that helps provide that. We've seen it now where doctors are starting to prescribe walks in nature for people for lower blood pressure, just for the health overall. It's just amazing what, walk in nature, you kind of lose yourself. This property, you can do that because with some of the up and down on the property, there's times you're out there and you kind of almost lose where you're at. It's that it's that neat. Also, with the COVID pandemic, we've seen larger numbers of people out in the county parks, on the trails and in the parks, because I think a lot more people are comfortable outside in the fresh air and nature and not in crowded indoor situations. So we've just seen a larger use of all our facilities as far as being out in nature and on the trails. So that's been good. And then of course, even the moods people get from being out in nature, it does reduce stress, and definitely I think people's moods are a little better. I see that in the parks a lot. And then also, we've seen over the years with our county park sites and other nature preserves in the county, those lands, natural lands, trail corridors, they generally really do help increase surrounding adjacent private land values. We've seen it over and over again. I can point to any county park site we have where there's a development that's popped up next to it, and people want to live next to county parks because 80% of our sites are undeveloped, 20% developed, and so most people, when they're adjacent to a county park site, they have a natural area they're looking up against, and it's not a ball field or something else there's with noise or other stuff. So it's, for most people's residential development especially, it's a good thing. That goes back to what we call the proximate principle, where generally land values adjacent to open space increase in value, which then leads to a higher assessed value of those properties, which then in return, people do pay additional property taxes because of the open space and the value of it. I think Prairie Estates is one of the finest examples of that. People paid premiums to live up against the preserve, and so I think some of the properties, and I've seen it, adjacent to the preserve are worth more money, and they're paying higher taxes than the ones across the street because of the nature preserve. So there's a lot to be said about that. So and as far as the project budget goes, right now we've got a purchase agreement on the property for $1,727,500. We've had this purchase agreement for a couple years already. The family we're dealing with, Sarah's family, has been they're wonderful to deal with. Not many landowners in Lake County are willing to work with us and be patient while we try and get funds together to buy it. Unfortunately, we don't have the money to just pay in cash and buy it. We typically, with our land acquisitions, we get partnerships to get it done. The purchase agreement is contingent, of course, on grant funds. So if we don't get the grant funds or the partnerships to get it done, then it still could be developed yet. So that's still a possibility. Our federal partners, which we've been working on for a couple years here, we're close to securing about half the project cost in federal dollars. We've been working with DNR, especially the Lake Michigan Coastal Program, the Division of Nature Preserves, through their Lake Michigan Coastal Program. That's through NOAA, and then also DNR through the Outdoor Recreation Division, which has funds through the National Park Service, which is the Land and Water Conservation Funds. Both those programs now have upped the total amount they will give for land acquisition. So coastal program now, they will give you up to $500,000 per project for land ac, because they want to protect Lake Michigan, and they feel it's so important to protect these coastal resources. And the Land and Water Conservation, they up their amount as well. So we've taken advantage of both of those, and we're really close to having half that amount. So basically what we need now is we're looking for a local match to match those federal dollars. And so we've already approached the Little Calumet River Basin Development Commission. We actually applied to them for $800,000 late last year. They didn't approve it, but we didn't have the amount of federal partners that we have now, half the project, and so they didn't say no, but they did say come back to them if we have some more partners. So I think that's definitely a possibility. I walked recently with the Nature Conservancy out there. They're going to consider giving us some help. Also, the BMV with the DNR, when you buy an environmental license plate in the state of Indiana, that $40 per plate that you pay extra or more goes into a fund which is used to buy properties like this. We've used it on probably 5 or 6 other county park sites in the past, and it's been a real good way for us to generate local dollars and match federal dollars. Also, I've talked to Dean and Barbara White Foundation recently, and also they're going to be teaming with the Legacy Foundation to be able to start granting grant funds for projects like your community centers and possibly even projects like for parks and trails, that kind of thing. So I've talked to Bill Hanna, and I'll talk to him some more, and that could be a potential partner as well. Here I'm talking to you tonight, of course, with the town, and then I did make a presentation to the St. John Township Board last year as well. And so they know about the project, and I think they're supportive of it, and they might even be financially willing to support a little as well. So I'm trying to get a bunch of partners together to get this local match now. So that's kind of where we're at on it. And Also, I got a few photos to kind of show beyond this, just to kind of show just kind of what the site's about. This is the shot from 77th and 85th. I think there's a church that might be built there someday, but that's that corner, and looking out to the southeast from the corner there at 77th and Austin. I'm sorry, to the southeast, I mean, it's still one of the best views in Schererville in my book. You got the large wetland basin in the foreground, and behind that, that's that Oak Hickory Savanna. That's part of the Schererville acquisition. You know, as far as the views from there, it's pretty outstanding from 77th in general, looking to the south. So it's just a neat looking site. Next one, that's one of the large wetland basins actually on the north side of the property, up against where the large, closer to 85th, I guess. So that one's always got a lot of wildlife in it, a lot of frogs in the spring, spring peepers, chorus frogs, wood ducks, all kinds of stuff, and it's consistently got water in it as well. So it's a really neat wetland. Not all native, but it's a large wetland, and it provides a lot of biodiversity. Next one, this is kind of, there's actually an Amoco pipeline that bisects the property, kind of at an angle from south to north. This is that pipeline core that goes through the middle of it, and this is that Oak Hickory Savanna. You can see some of the oaks and hickories here in the spring leafing out. There's some invasive species, of course, but walking through there's a lot of natives in the soils, so there's a lot of seed bank there. So there's a lot there that could be brought out in the coming years if it was acquired. This is the shot, I guess it's looking back towards the northwest, across that wetland basin. Turkey Creek flows through that kind of in the foreground. We've actually talked to a few others just about that and maybe some options, but we even looked at maybe if it was acquired, we could reroute Turkey Creek from its current location maybe along the toe of the hill on the Schererville property and kind of tie it in along 77th. And then eventually tie that back into where it goes now, where it empties north of 77th and back north into 30. So there's some real options there for restoration in the future. And then here's another shot. This is actually that 5-acre ag field. That's part of the property along 77th. So this is looking back towards the church, and then looking back towards the north and east. And you know, this field we would envision someday being a parking area. Also, we would hope that someday we could work with the town and provide some sidewalk access from the Pensy Greenway from the roundabout at Klein Avenue. I'd heard there might be sidewalks someday along 77th, all the way from 41 towards the roundabout. So this could tie this site in perfectly to the rest of the trail system in the county and allow non-motorized access as well. So it's just another, and then there's some wetland in that 5 acres as well, but it just has a nice opportunity for a future park site development. So, and that's it. Kind of just an overview quick of what's going on, and just, you know, coming to the council to see if there might be some way in the future for us to have maybe some support on the land act side. Our main goal is to first try and get the property acquired. Once that's done, then, you know, someday down the line, of course, like other sites, if we can buy smaller pieces around it here and there that work out, that's fine. But if we don't get this core 100 acres, then really there's no use moving beyond that. So this is the key portion of the site, and, you know, just seeing the development that goes on right now in the county, you don't see a lot of conservation going on. So anytime we can do something like this, I think is positive. The town is blessed with Hoosier Prairie to the north, which is a great site, 875 acres, and you know, very diverse. It's probably one of the nicest sites biodiversity-wise in the county. You're blessed there. And then our future beaver dam sites to the south of you. I know you have your Tebow Preserve also in town. So this could fit in really nicely with some of the other parks you have in the county, in addition to some of your more active recreational sites also. So I think there's a real opportunity here for the town and for, you know, future residents as well. So.
Any questions from council members?
No, just thank you for the detail.
Yep.
I do have, Mr. President, did we just approve a home site on the south side of 77?
We did, that's on a piece of private property, so across from the water.
I thought that was in that drawing of.
It is, it was included in there, was a 10-acre site
Yeah.
that belonged to. So a lot of the property that he had out there is private property.
Yeah.
Outside of the property that he's talking about right now, the Schererville property is a strip that runs almost to 85th, but doesn't access.
Correct. Yeah, it does. Yeah, all the way
So it runs from 77 to 85th, and it's just right alongside the cemetery. Between the cemetery and then back the houses that come out from Austin.
Yeah, I think you mentioned that parcel at one time was owned by a developer across the street.
I think he
sold it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He sold it.
Sir, thank you very much for the presentation. I'm always in favor of parks, so I support the clause. As far as, matching funds or contributions, I obviously would have to talk about that more, look at our numbers, see what we were able to do before we would support anything. But I really appreciate the presentation. It was great.
Thank you, same here.
Thank you.
Yep,
Oh, thank you.
yep, you're welcome.
Craig, thanks for your time.
Yep.
For the presentation. So we'll discuss it, and we'll probably get from there.
Sounds great.
Any chance that we can get your slideshow?
Oh, yeah, if you want to.
I'll save it to the computer.
Yeah.
Save that?
Yeah.
I really appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, no, hey, my pleasure. Yeah.
Thank you for your time. Okay, we'll move on to old business. Ordinance number 1973 is the adoption of the 2022 civil town budget. This is the second reading. Bob?
Yes, we had our public hearing on the budget, and this is actually the follow-up. This is the second reading of the budget. Nothing has changed from the public meeting. Looking at, I'm sorry that my class was not here tonight, but it did give me some notes. There was no remonstrance to the town on the 22 civil town budget. The town budget, this budget includes a 5% increase on the property tax levies. That was done initially because we didn't get direction from the state board of accounts as to where the state was on increasing levies. We have since gotten information they're increasing it to 4.3%. So we always advertise a little high because you can always advertise high. You want to reduce your budget, which is what we have to do. We do that every year, but you never can increase it. So basically, we've gotten that direction now. There's supposed to be a 4.3% increase in levies. So this is basically the same thing you did in the first reading. It's just the final approval of the budget.
Whether the board is looking for an adoption.
Mr. President, we move to adopt ordinance 1973.
Second. There's a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 4-0. Under new business, resolution 2021-15 is a resolution to transfer funds within the category of appropriations. Mr. Volkman?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is in the administration budget, or appropriations. It's in the 100 line items. It's for $1,000.
Pleasure of the board.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 4-0. Consider acceptance of permanent easement agreement between Ken Gilbert and the town of Schererville, Pennsylvania Way Trail. Mr. Volkman?
This is a piece that we needed for the phase 4 of the Pennsy Trail. We worked with this property owner, we took a 10-foot easement on his property, and in exchange for his easement, we provided him with a sewer connection.
Motion to approve.
Have a motion, and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 4-0. Consider approval to extend Families First Coronavirus Response Act, FFCRA, which expires September 30th of 2021, to compensate up to 80 hours of paid leave to employees that are off work due to COVID-19, retroactive to October 1st of 2021 and expiring on December 31st of 2021. Mr. Volkman?
We talked about this briefly last month. We had extended them to September 30th, the CARES Act, and this would be to extend it to December 31st. We've had several employees that have been stricken with COVID here recently. I think Robin, we have, what was it called?
16.
We've had 16 employees since the beginning of COVID last year that have been stricken with COVID that have taken advantage of this program. It not only is a benefit to those employees, it was funded, we received funding for this. So far, I think we've only expended over 22,000 of the monies that we did receive. This also protects our current employees because encourages people who do come down with COVID to stay home, get well, and not come to work because they're in fear of losing their income during their recuperating time. So it's a nice benefit for our employees, and certainly would appreciate your consideration extending it to the end of the year.
Thank you, Mr. Wood. Pleasure of the board.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 4-0.
Thank you.
Consider release of cash surety into the amount of $217,232.89. This is a recommendation by Nice Engineering. Mr. Simstead.
Yes, Mr. President, the developer is in compliance with the town subdivision control ordinance and completion of the improvements, which would release the surety for those improvements and move to a maintenance fund.
And this is for Oak District Development Phase 1.
Correct.
Pleasure of the board.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion?
I have a question. Phase 1 included the development of the streets as well as the development of the buildings, or no?
No, just the improvements related to civil site work.
Okay. So, and that's all been completed, the buildings haven't been all completed, so we're able to approve this based on the civil site work.
Correct, and additionally, there are private improvements that were not included in the bonding, which is the north-south road, which is a private road, but all the public improvements and the improvements that were applicable to the surety have been completed, approved, and the articles have been submitted and reviewed.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Motion to,
Okay, no.
motion to approve, release of the cash surety in the amount of $217,232.89.
We already had a motion.
Yeah, we already
Oh,
have
I'm
a
sorry.
second. That's all right. Is there any other question? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 4-0. Consider acceptance of donations for $20,996.45.
Mr. President,
Yes.
I would move to defer the acceptance of donations to our November meeting.
Second. Motion is second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 4-0. At this time, I will take any business from the floor. Is there any business from the floor? Any business from the floor? Hearing none, this meeting is adjourned.